Okay, so you want to own a medieval marketplace. You picture an open square beside a church and a main road, crowded every Thursday with farmers, butchers, bakers, cloth sellers, shoemakers, livestock dealers, and traveling merchants. Every stall pays for space. Every cart of grain can pay a toll. Every butcher needs a place to sell meat. Every trader wants the buyers already standing in your square. You do not have to raise the sheep, bake the bread, weave the cloth, or own the cattle. You simply own the place where everyone comes to exchange them. That is the dream, and it is not entirely wrong. In 13th century England, the right to hold a market could be a valuable franchise. But there is one fact that changes the picture. A royal charter did not create customers. Some markets received formal permission and still failed to develop. At Ripley in Surrey, the Prior of Newark claimed in 1279 that a market granted by Henry III was worth nothing because nobody came to it. The paper right existed. The business did not. That is the central contradiction of a medieval marketplace. The most valuable thing is not the square. It is not the stalls. It is not even the charter by itself. It is the ability to make buyers and sellers choose the same place on the same day, often enough that every other revenue stream becomes possible. So let us build a weekly English market around the year 1290. Our model will sit on a busy road beside a growing village, within hauling distance of farms and workshops, but far enough from major rivals to develop its own trading day. By the end, we will collect stall rents, tolls, shop rents, weighing fees, and court profits. Then we will lose 20% of our traders. We will move the road, and we will discover why a crowded market can be more fragile than a mill, bridge, or inn. First, you need the right to operate. By the 13th century, English kings treated the establishment of markets and fairs as a royal franchise. A grant normally named the person receiving the right, the place, and the day of the weekly market. Fairs were different. A market usually returned every week. A fair normally appeared once a year on a fixed feast day and might last several days. That calendar matters because your new market cannot simply invade the trading day of a successful neighbor without consequences. Royal grants increasingly protected existing markets from damaging competition. The commercial asset therefore begins with time as much as land. Tuesday can be valuable. Thursday can be worthless. If farmers already take their grain to a town 6 miles away every Thursday, copying Thursday may divide the same customers instead of creating new trade. Choose the wrong day, and you have bought a square that is busy only when nobody needs it. Now choose the site. A medieval market needs access before it needs decoration. Farmers arrive with grain, eggs, cheese, livestock, wool, hides, timber, and vegetables. Craftsmen bring shoes, cloth, pottery, tools, bread, ale, and household goods. Some arrive on foot. Others lead animals or use carts. The marketplace needs enough open ground to separate livestock from food, buyers from traffic, and temporary stalls for permanent shops. Mud matters. Drainage matters. A market square that becomes a manure pit after rain creates a real operating problem. So does a road too narrow for carts to turn. Then come the permanent improvements. You may build covered stalls. You may create a meat market, fish area, grain space, weighing point, lock-up storage, or market house. Shops can grow around the square. Those buildings can become more valuable than the open stalls because they pay rent even when the weather is poor. That is exactly what happened at successful places like Botesdale in Suffolk. Its market developed rapidly after a 13th century grant. By 1289, records show dozens of stalls and shops around the market site, with traders identified by occupations including shoemakers, tanners, tailors, and merchants. The marketplace was no longer an empty field used one day a week. It was pulling permanent commercial property toward itself. That is the first network effect. Traders attract buyers. Buyers attract more traders. More traders justify permanent shops. Permanent shops make the place useful on days when the formal market is not operating. The market begins to create a town around the franchise. Why would traders pay you at all? Because the market reduces search. A farmer with surplus grain does not want to walk from house to house asking who needs wheat. A shoemaker does not want to spend 2 days finding one buyer. A cattle dealer needs several buyers in the same place if he wants competition for his animals. The market concentrates demand. It also concentrates information. By midday, traders can see what grain is selling for, which animals are scarce, which cloth is moving, and whether a neighboring town is paying more. That price discovery is part of the product. The owner is not merely renting ground. He is selling access to a crowd that every participant helps create. This is why a market can become stronger as it grows. But the same logic works in reverse. Lose enough important traders and buyers begin to stop coming because the selection is worse. Then more traders leave because the buyers are gone. A marketplace can therefore compound upward like a network or unravel downward for exactly the same reason. Now open the revenue side. The first stream is tolls. A market owner may have the right to charge traders for goods brought into the market and sold there. The exact customs vary by place. A payment may be collected in money. In some cases, a due can be collected in kind. The important point is that you do not need to own the goods. You extract a small payment because the transaction occurs inside the market you control. That sounds close to perfect. But tolls have a pricing problem. Charge too little and the right produces almost nothing. Charge too much and traders complain, evade collection, use informal sales outside the market, or choose another town. Medieval law itself recognized the problem of excessive tolls. The market owner is therefore balancing extraction against participation. The second stream is stallage. A trader who occupies a stall or temporary selling place may pay for the space. If the trader needs to break the ground to erect a stall, a related payment could be known as pickage. Pens for animals could create their own dues. This is different from a toll. The toll charges the commercial activity. Stallage charges the physical space. A merchant with low-value bulky goods may hate tolls but still pay for a good position. A high-value trader may care more about security and customer traffic than the size of the stallage fee. The best spaces become scarce assets inside the market. The third stream is permanent rent. Once a market succeeds, traders may build or lease shops, cottages, workshops, cellars, sheds, and storage around it. This is where a weekly event begins behaving like real estate. At Botesdale around the end of the 13th century, the market was generating more than £3 a year in rents, in addition to more than £5, 6 shillings, and 8 pence in tolls. Those numbers are important because they reveal two businesses operating together. One is the right to tax trade. The other is the property created by trade. The fourth stream is measurement and market services. Formal markets are valuable partly because strangers need confidence. Weights and measures have to mean something. Grain must be measured. Bread and ale can fall under official assizes. Meat and fish must not be obviously rotten. Disputes need somebody with authority to settle them. A market may therefore support weighers, inspectors, clerks, bailiffs, brokers, and other officials. Some services produce direct fees. Others create no obvious revenue, but protect every other stream by making the market trustworthy. The fifth stream is judicial profit. Markets generate conflict. A trader cheats a customer. A baker breaks the assize. Somebody sells where he should not. A debtor refuses payment. Animals damage another person's goods. The Lord's court, market court, or authorized official can impose fines and settle disputes. Justice is partly a public function. For the market holder, it can also be revenue. The sixth stream is the annual fair. A weekly market serves local repetition. A fair can bring a larger burst of regional traffic around a fixed feast day. More sellers can mean more stallage, more tolls, more food sales, more lodging demand, and more use of surrounding property. The fair also advertises the market town to merchants who do not normally visit every week. But it creates peak capacity problems. One successful week can overwhelm roads, waste removal, guards, animal pens, and storage. Now consider seventh option. Instead of collecting everything yourself, you can lease the market revenues to someone else. This is farming the tolls. The Lord receives a fixed annual payment. The lessee collects the tolls and keeps whatever remains after administration and losses. It transfers operating risk. It also transfers upside. Botesdale gives us a real example. In the 1340s, the abbot of Berry Street, Edmonds, leased the market's toll franchise for £5, 13 shillings, and 4 pence per year. The lessees became responsible for administering the market, collecting tolls, enforcing rules, monitoring weights and measures, and maintaining order. Now, the marketplace contains two different investors. The Lord owns the franchise. The lessee owns the operating risk for 1 year. If trade surges, the lessee wins. If traders stay home, the fixed rent is still due. This is the medieval version of buying a revenue stream with a guaranteed payment attached. Now, let us construct a reconstructed annual account for our market. This is not a surviving account from one specific town. We will use shillings and pence because they fit the period, but the numbers are illustrative and are anchored to the scale of documented markets, such as Botesdale. Assume our weekly market operates 50 market days per year, allowing for disrupted weeks, holy days, weather, and local interruptions. Tolls on grain, livestock, cloth, food, and general merchandise produce 105 shillings. Stallage, pickage, and animal pen fees produce another 42 shillings. Permanent shops, sheds, and market-front properties produce 64 shillings in rent. Weighing, storage, licensing, and miscellaneous market services add 18 shillings. Court fines and market rule penalties contribute 16 shillings. The annual fare adds 35 shillings after its direct collection costs. Total reconstructed revenue is 280 shillings. That is 14 pounds. Now open the cost side. The bailiff, collectors, clerk, and part-time market officials consume 42 shillings. Cleaning, drainage, waste removal, road repairs, stall maintenance, and a market house consume 30. Weights, measures, locks, pins, barriers, and equipment take 12. Legal expenses, enforcement, and disputes with neighboring lords consume another 14. Security and additional fair day labor take 18. We reserve 24 shillings for major repairs and replacement of market structures. The owner also has 50 shillings of annual franchise, lease, financing, or estate-level obligations allocated to this asset in our model. Total cost reaches 190 shillings. The apparent surplus is 90 shillings. For pounds, 10 shillings. That looks attractive. The owner did not grow 1 bushel of grain. He did not weave 1 yard of cloth. He did not raise 1 cow. He earned because other people wanted to trade. But this creates the first financial trap. Market revenue is a percentage of someone else's activity. If agricultural output, local population, or merchant traffic weakens, your product disappears before your costs do. The second trap is leakage. Not every transaction occurs inside the square. A farmer can sell grain before reaching the market. A butcher can deal directly with an inn. A merchant can sell from a house, road, or neighboring village. If formal market costs become too high, trade learns to move around them. Your monopoly is only valuable while it is enforceable and convenient. The third trap is competition. A new charter in the next manor can split the same rural population. A nearby lord may change the day of his market. A growing town may offer better roads, deeper buyer demand, and more permanent shops. The stall itself does not have customer loyalty. The trading network does. The fourth trap is capacity. A crowded market looks profitable, but congestion can destroy the reason people came. If carts cannot enter, buyers cannot move, livestock mix with food, and merchants wait hours to unload, the next town becomes more attractive. High utilization can therefore create the cost that destroys future utilization. Now perform the first pressure test. Local population and harvest conditions weaken, and the number of active traders falls 20%. Tolls, stallage, service fees, and court activity decline. Shop rents decline more slowly because leases do not disappear immediately. Revenue falls from 280 shillings to roughly 232. Costs do not fall at the same rate. You still need a collector. The road still needs repair. The market house still leaks. The fair still requires security. Total costs fall only from 190 to about 178 shillings. Profit falls from 90 to 54. A 20% traffic decline destroys 40% of the surplus. Now change a different variable. The main road is diverted toward a new bridge in a growing neighboring town. Only 15% of traders leave in the first year. But they're the traveling merchants who brought cloth, metal goods, and outside buyers. Local farmers still arrive. The square still looks busy. Yet permanent shops begin to lose value because the most valuable customers have moved. Tolls fall. Shop vacancies rise. The annual fair becomes less attractive. By year 3, revenue can fall below 200 shillings while most infrastructure and administrative obligations remain. This is what market failure looks like. It does not begin with an empty square. It begins with the wrong people disappearing. That brings us back to Ripley. In 1279, the prior of Newark defended his claimed market right, but stated that the market was of no value because nobody came to it. Few business failures are described more efficiently. The charter had legal existence. The marketplace had no commercial gravity. No traders means no tolls. No traders means no stallage. No buyers means no reason to build shops. The asset can die without one wall collapsing. Now compare that with Botesdale. The abbot of Berry Street, Edmonds, had a market grant in the 13th century on the manor of Redgrave, and the market developed at Botesdale on an important route. By 1289, the marketplace supported dozens of stalls and shops. At the end of the 13th century, weekly activity produced more than £3 in rents and £5, 6 shillings, and 8 pence in tolls each year. Later, the toll franchise itself could be leased for more than £5 a year. That is a successful network becoming a financial asset. The value no longer depends only on what the Lord can collect personally on Thursday. It depends on the rents, traders, rules, buildings, habits, and reputation created around Thursday. The weak market owner sees a crowd and raises every fee he can. The strong owner understands that trader participation is the raw material of the business. The weak owner sells every inch of square space. The strong owner preserves access, sanitation, traffic flow, and room for carts and animals. The weak owner sees regulation as administrative expense. The strong owner understands that reliable weights, measures, quality rules, and dispute resolution make strangers willing to trade. The weak owner chooses a market day because the charter permits it. The strong owner chooses a day that fits the regional calendar. The weak owner builds stalls first. The strong owner asks where buyers already travel, what they need to exchange, and which nearby markets compete for the same households. A mature buyer therefore investigates much more than the square. Who legally controls the market franchise? Does the charter include the right to collect tolls? Which day is protected? Which neighboring markets operate on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday? How many permanent shops pay rent? How much income comes from tolls compared with property? Are weights and measures trusted? Which goods dominate the market? How dependent is the town on one harvest, one craft, or one road? Can traders sell outside the market and avoid the dues? How many market stalls were empty last year? What happens if population falls 20%? Those questions reveal the real asset. The 13th century produced an extraordinary wave of new market grants in England. Research on the national network shows that more than 1,000 settlements acquired market rights for the first time during that century. But expansion created competition. After 1300, aggregate demand weakened, and after the Black Death, the population shock further reduced the number of buyers and sellers many small markets could support. Some centers survived because they served strong towns, industrial districts, or established routes. Others declined into empty stalls and broken shops. The franchise did not guarantee survival. Commercial gravity did. So can owning a medieval marketplace make you wealthy? Yes. A successful market allows you to earn from transactions you do not finance, goods you do not own, and businesses you do not operate. You can collect tolls from trade, rent from space, income from shops, fees from services, and profits from the legal system that protects the exchange. But the charter cannot manufacture demand. The square cannot force merchants to arrive. and the stall cannot make buyers spend money. The marketplace is not the business. Making your town the place where everyone already expects everyone else to be is.